What's going on, everybody? We are back for another FX show. This is the old man. This is my
Mhm.
co-host Lucas and I. We're here to give after show coverage of the first two episodes. What's going on, Lucas?
Hey, nothing much at all. Just talk about old men doing bad things. This could have been named Grumpy Old Men. It could have been named whatever you wanted it to.
Look, it doesn't even matter because I was kind of drawn to this just because of Jeff Bridges. I found out later that John was in it. But I
Mhm.
didn't suspect that I'd like it this much, to be honest with you. I guess a part of that because I didn't even see the trailer. I just was like, oh, okay, Jeff Bridges. All right, cool. I'll watch it. Two dogs. I don't know what this means. But as you start to progress through this and see what it actually is about, it's this man. He's kind of just living on his own. He's chilling. And he's having a random conversation with his daughter, and all of a sudden, like, you just realize, like, he's very paranoid. He's paranoid that something's going to happen to him. He thinks that he's gotten to the age of dementia because something similar happened to his wife, and he's almost
Mhm.
as though he's trying to find that there's something wrong with him, almost like there's something he can't escape. And sure enough, that is exactly what's going on. Lucas, what did you think about this?
Hey, again, it seems like every time we do a review, and I hate to say it this way, every time we do a review, I have a different perspective on something because I know something else. I know eventually people are going to be like, wait a minute, with the amount of stuff that you review between television shows, movies, when the hell do you have time to read these books? I know about the old man because I read the book, The Old Man. So I kind of knew what the story was, even though this show is, besides taking just the framework of the book, it's a complete departure from the book
Oh, really?
altogether.
Interesting.
Man, they are l- the book gives you little to no character development. It gives you little to a lot of things. You know, it's an old man. You know the two dogs. He has a mission in the book that is nothing like the mission that's in this show. So
Wow.
I was intrigued by the book that brought me into it, and of course, you get Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow in the same cast, and Amy Brenneman, who I also love in the same cast. Like, these are people who, like, Jeff Bridges is one of the best actors in Hollywood going, hands down.
Right.
John Lithgow is the guy who is the complete chameleon. Whether it be most people grew up with 30 Rock from the Sun
Mm-hmm.
or noticing him for other evil roles that he's played growing up, like
Right.
that you may know of. Amy Brennan, same thing with me. I remember her from NYPD Blue. I remember her from Judging Amy because I was an old teenager who loved that show. So like it's the cast that is so great here that following Under the Sun, when we talked about
Oh,
doing another
under
show,
under the
when
banner
we
of heaven.
that one after we talked about doing another show, it was going to be naturally the progression would be the old man because one thing FX is doing that I think puts them over anybody else is they're doing high quality prestige television on an HBO level.
Right.
And you don't, I am highly, I don't know what happened with FX that this is now their realm to put these amazing actors in these type of limited series, but this is this is if Al Pacino and Robert De Niro did Heat now
Yeah.
instead of when they were a little younger. And just to see them play off of each other. And again, it's not because they have scenes, because in the first two episodes, they never have scenes with one another. But I'd be darned if they don't play off each other perfectly.
Right. Right. Like, it was so weird because it was almost as if, like, through their performances, I can tell these men have history. Like, it's how you talk to somebody, how you're short with them, how you understand them, how you methodically do stuff
Hmm.
and move pieces around. Like, these men have breathed life into these characters that I was like, man, what is the past of this? And then when you start to actually see some of the flashbacks and you scenes with them as their younger selves, even the
Hmm.
actors that are playing the younger versions, like, I was like, man, this is near perfect. I was really surprised by that. But like you said, from a from a cinematography standpoint and the way that this looks, it looks gorgeous, man.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised some of the shots that they were able to get, but even the color palette, like, and I don't really normally I don't talk about that, but the color palette and the way this looks, it looks like it's on a cinematic level. Um, and I don't see that a lot. I don't see that a lot from television. I mean, HBO kind of try to step up the mark, but I don't know. Maybe it's that Disney money feeding into FX. I don't know,
I'm
but
saying, wait a minute. You said you've never seen it before? Have you never seen True Detective season 1?
hey, look, I love True Detective. HBO is
Nothing,
HBO is in
nothing
a
looks that
league of its
nothing
own.
looks that good. I love this show. It don't look as good as True Detective season 1. That shit is that is even Mahershala's last season of it.
Oh,
Man.
third season was good. Third season was really
But
good.
I think what changes pace with this show, one, you got to give credit to someone who does the best. I'm gonna say first for this director, it's a fight scene at the end of the first episode of this. It is the best action scene he's ever shot for the director who shot this. And then I'm gonna tell you the director for people that don't know, because the director in this scene that we see the picture of right here, it's an amazing shot as you transform through color palettes, through intensity, and all that stuff. The director of this series, and I think he's a executive producer of this series, is John Watts. So the
Wow.
last time you may have seen him direct something would have been Spider-Man: No Way Home. And that
Wow.
extra scene right here with Jeff Bridges is the best action scene he's ever shot. It's
Yeah.
better than the action scene in Spider-Man. Like,
Yeah.
like that is hands down an amazing scene that he put together there. And I think that also lends itself to why this show feels so different and so special for FX is that you got a high quality person who's like the driving force of the first 2 episodes here.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
that is amazing.
Um, you're right. Like, cause when that scene, well, you know what? Even before that, there was a scene that happened in the house,
Mm-hmm.
in his house, and it just happened so quick. It felt seamless. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes, some people shoot action for shock
Yeah.
value. Sometimes it was like for style or new innovation. Like, no, like they were like point A, point B, best way to kill somebody, like
Yeah.
whatever it takes kind of situation. And that leads in like going into this, like even in the second episode, like it doesn't stop. But that scene, it made me realize, I was like, yo, first off, the way that they're directing this and the tone of it, I'm in love with.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm surprised that this 80-year-old, 70 to 80-year-old man is doing these scenes almost effortlessly. Um, and it's just it's phenomenal. Because one of the things with him as a character is, sometimes he'll fake like everything is completely fine, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes like he'll throw you with like him panting or breathing really hard, but you don't know if he's playing somebody or not. You don't know if he's trying to position somebody in a certain kind of way. Like he is an ultimate deceiver, but they're not using like, oh wow, he outsmarted this. Like, no, it's a situational thing. And I think that Jeff is playing it so perfectly that it's just like, I don't know if it was written well or if it was acted well, but it feels like an amalgam of the two to me. Um,
I think you get the intensity from real life situations here with this show. I mean, if once you know the history of the show, this show started shooting in March 2020.
wow.
I don't have to tell anyone what happened when this show started shooting. Like, but I'm sorry, it shut down. It shut down in March 2020. I think it started shooting actually in 2019.
Mm.
But um what helps with the intensity of a lot of what we're seeing from Jeff Bridges, for what people don't know, like he ended up catching cancer during the
Oh,
production of this.
oh my
He ended up
God.
going through cancer treatment, remission, caught COVID, felt like he was dying, and then came back and finished his role.
Oh my
So
God.
what you're now getting is someone who I think it helped make this old man more grizzled.
Mm.
Because at that point you've been through a lot and you are thankful for everything you have, and yet and still you're playing a character while he's extremely grateful for what he has. He understands what he has to do, as Sam poses a spoiler up here, it looks like.
There
Wait
is
a
no
minute, Sam.
spoiler. I know
Oh,
nothing
you
of
post.
spoilers.
Oh, you post.
He's
No, not a
bleeding.
spoiler. I'm sorry. No, that is a spoiler right there.
That's
But
not a spoiler.
that is a spoiler.
He's
But it's a
bleeding.
spoiler. It is a spoiler from what is it? L times that battle something, because that's from the movie. That has nothing to do with this show. I know that scene. I know that scene when he was pretending to be a priest before he was trying to kill someone in the hotel room. Like I remember that scene. But just the way you get the setup of the two characters and everything that Jeff went through during the production of it, it makes his performance amazing. Granted, he doesn't even have, and we're talking about Jeff Bridges because he's Jeff Bridges and he's one of the best actors living. But like we can't forget to mention that one, John Lithgow is going performance for performance in this. John Lithgow has the best scenes in the first two episodes. Like between, I know we're jumping ahead before we really get into these episodes, but it's a scene where he's sitting in a bathroom as his grandson has lost both of his parents, and he says he misses him, and he breaks down in the bathroom crying. And the wife comes in. He said, "Don't you think it would be? Don't you think it would be okay for him to see you cry?" He said, "He's a kid who lost both of his parents. No,
Right.
I need to be something different than all the rest of you who wants to cry around him." Like just the way he said it and his delivery, it went from being so sentimental and sweet to scary. And
Yeah.
he can turn that on so fast. And there's another scene where he's talking to, I want to say, another investigator. And he tells the investigator, the way you're staring at me, you're making me mad. Do I look like the person you want to make bad? And the guy said, no. He said, then, and excuse my language, then maybe you need to stop fucking staring at me. Like it was so straightforward and so direct. And you're like, oh, this. And keep in mind, both of these scenes I'm talking about happened in the first 30 minutes of episode 1.
Yep.
That should tell you the roller coaster that you're going to go through with this show. Because even if it feels at time cookie cutter and by the numbers, their performances are far from that.
Fact. That's a pure T fact. And I think the scary thing about him is like you described in that first scene when he was crying. As soon as she said what she said, he just turned it off.
Yep.
And immediately was just back to business talking on the phone. And I'm like, it wasn't like I believed that he was fake crying. Like, no, it's just that's just how his brain is wired. And anybody that is that pristine and precise with how they're communicating with people, like what are their other relationships like? What is the outside stuff with they how do they communicate with their team? How do they gauge danger? How do they assess figuring out stuff? There's a conversation that happens towards the end of the first episode where Jeff Bridges and John are having a real conversation. And he was like, look, man, if you don't do something, this is going to get left into my plate. And if it gets put in.
Hold on, Sam. I'm noticing we are going about this review like it's a spoiler-free discussion. This is not a spoiler-free discussion.
Oh, okay.
No,
well,
we can literally go ahead and say exactly what he said. I just thought about it. This is not spoiler-free. Like,
isn't it?
No, it's not spoiler-free. This is the recap review.
Oh, okay. I was about to say the line, but I was like,
hey, y'all see how quick those critic hats come on your head. It goes about like, well, I can't spoil anything, so let me talk about it this way. No, we can literally talk about it. Like, no. What Jeff Bridges was talking about was John Lithgow talking about killing his daughter and him flipping a switch in a heartbeat, as it was just pertaining to secrets and them and the secrets that they hold dear to each other, because it seems like they have a past where if Jeff gets caught, John is worrying about what will happen to him.
That backlash from association.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's some real stuff, because when he said that delivery is like, this gets left in my play, like I will take you down. And it's like the links, the way that he said it, I was like, the links that he would be willing to go to do it is probably unlimited. And like you said, like when he had that conversation with the other um investigator, let's just say, um, even the way that he came off with him, it was like he turned on another switch, and I just
Mm-hmm.
love his performance in this. Um, but yeah, it was interesting, man. First episode I thought was really good. Like immediately after the first episode was over, I was like, I gotta see what happens next. It wasn't like I was gonna wait till the next week. Like, no, I need to see the next episode immediately.
We understand. One, this is becoming a trend for FX shows, which is a great trend. That FX releases, and every show they do, they release the first 2 episodes. Like no other network does this. If your name's not Netflix, like most other, especially basic cable networks, none of them do this. But this is a pattern for FX because I'm assuming when they do the first 2 episodes of any show, they want to build it like a cinematic journey.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can do that, or they don't believe you can do that in one episode. So it fits seamless to go from episode 1 to episode 2.
Right.
Because episode 2 establishes to me the tone of the series. Episode 1 introduces you to the characters. You understand exactly what's going on after episode 1, but episode 2 is the one where you're like, oh, so this is the tone that we're going after. And that it's before we skip to episode 2, we got to talk about the fight scene, the Jason Bourne-esque fight scene at the end of episode 1, which again we kind of hinted towards it because it is the thing, possibly the best action I've ever seen John Watts direct before, but it is intense the entire time because you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
From you thinking Jeff Bridges left because he escaped.
Yeah, because he had that conversation with his daughter. He was like, you know what?
Yep.
I gotta leave. This is the best thing to do. I got the forewarning. And then he was like his daughter said, no, F that. You deal with this. I'ma be okay. You figure this out. You better not leave me, basically. And as soon as John was like, oh, okay, all right, everything's good. He must have got away. You hear something, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? All of a sudden, like one of the dudes gets hit with the car, the other one gets hit right straight to the side, and like you're like, okay, what's about to go down? And sure enough, he was gone. And so they were trying to figure out where this old man's at. I can't remember how the first guy went down. First guy went down quick. Like he dealt with him in such a way that I was like, oh my gosh. But then it proceeds to be an actual fist fight. And like, I don't know, man. Like, I just did not predict how that was gonna go down. And it ended in such a way it was perfect. Like they set the tone coming from the outside to the side of the car, to the car getting flipped upside down, to still fighting in the car. Like it was just
to a very gruesome scene at the end of the movie, at the end of the show. Wow,
right,
the movie.
You might as well
at
say,
the end of the show,
hey.
where you see why the dogs are a threat.
Yes,
that was the key part, is to show you in this scene as they're fighting, they're going back and forth. And one, it reminded me a lot of Born Identity. That first scene, I think, in Chateau between Matt Damon and I forget the guy who he was fighting, or he's not important. But it's the first real intense fight scene that we see Jason Bourne in. That's what this one reminded me of. Because the hand-to-hand combat stuff here was great.
It was.
Like, even the guy's like, who's this old man? Why are you this tough to bring down? Everything that Jeff Bridges does in it, again, it's kind of, the only negative thing I say is cookie cutter, in the sense where I kind of knew all of that was going to happen, not because of the book, just because of the way they set it up. You knew it was going to happen, but it's executed so well. I'm just talking about the outcome you knew was coming. That fight scene that John shot by the car as the lights are changing colors is, I would have never never a part of my imagination would have thought someone would have shot that scene that way.
Especially with Jeff Bridges. Like it was
old
amazing.
men are doing it big now, man. Old men can look. Ever since Liam Neeson, these old guys figure they could do whatever action movies they want.
Oh man. But yeah, nah, that the scary part about it with the dogs is you did not hear them.
Nope.
They just popped in there, and I was just like, both these dogs up in here? And he
Hey,
didn't even hear him. I was like,
when he turned his back after he thought he had driven far enough off where he left them, and you hear Bridges say something,
yeah, he said
and
something. Was it
then
German? Maybe I don't know.
the dogs appeared out of nowhere.
Right.
Oh, and by the time the guy sees the dogs, at the same time the audience sees the dog, and all you hear is and he sees one, he's like shit, and then he hears the second one, and he's
Right.
like, oh.
Yeah.
At that point, you already knew what was happening. Again, it was just a great scene from the initial fight to the restraining of Jeff Bridges to how he got out of those restraints to how it ends with the dogs. It's just a very satisfying introduction to what this character can do, because that's
Right.
what you needed to understand why he was a threat.
Yeah. Yeah. Matter of fact, he went up to the camera where it should have been a hidden body camera, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, yeah, your men ain't coming back, and I'm coming.
Do
And I'm
you
tearing
see
it
me
all down.
now?
Right.
And it was only because John Lithgow threatened him, like, hey, if I gotta again, that's what made this first episode so interesting, is that John threw out the threat first, like, hey, if you keep on coming, I'm going to get your daughter, I'm going to kill her if necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all of that will be caused by if you just don't run away, because that's
Right.
all he wanted him to do. That's the funny part here. All
Yeah.
John wanted him to do was disappear. That's all you have to do is disappear, which we see he's more than
Great
equipped
at
to
it.
do that.
Right.
And he's like, no, I'm not doing it this time. And that's when all heck breaks loose between them.
Yeah. And it's also a little rat race because John's character doesn't know, who this new person is assigned to this situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we can go ahead and transition to episode 2. Episode 2, Jeff Bridges' character is kind of banged up pretty bad. He does get away. But he tells his daughter, I think something along the lines like, look, I need to recoup, I need to heal up, and I'm gonna lay low for a little bit. So he finds a house that the owner was supposedly not supposed to be there, that he should be able to stay there. But to find out that the owner's ex-wife is still living there. And so he's in a situation where it's like, crap, what do I do about this lady? Like, I got to keep my cover. So, look, I'll throw money at her. She's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. Wait, you got dogs? Nah, we ain't cool with that.
Hey, and that's the funniest scene of the show. She said, wait a minute. She said, oh, dogs. He said, is that a problem? She said, the listing said no dogs. And Jeff, in a moment of him forgetting to lie, says, oh, did it? She said, it definitely said no dogs. And that's when the second one just comes out the blue. It sits right there. It's a very funny scene because it just shows, one, it shows that he can think on his feet, because while he lost track with the dogs in line properly, he then comes up with the perfect solution to his problem, which is, if I disable this car, I need to show her that these dogs will do whatever I say do.
Right.
But again, this is when we meet Judging Amy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call her Judging Amy because I don't know her name on the show right now.
Then he decides, like, look, I'm gonna cook a meal for you, and he proceeds to go on this full tangent about who he learned the meal from, why he learned the meal, why he learned how to prepare a meal a specific way, what it tells a person about another individual. And they do show a little bit of a flashback, which is really interesting to show, kind of who he learned from. But they only give you little glimpses of it. But it was enough for her to be like, oh, shoot, he's paying money. I got these bills due. These dogs seem all right. And he could cook. She's like, look, all right, yeah, you got to cook for me. But you can
stay. The main part was when she said it, she said, wait a minute. These dogs have just sat here and not moved for 20 minutes. Anyone who has a dog or had a dog, I don't care how well trained your dog is, they're not just sitting still for 20 minutes.
Right.
So I think that's what, because she said, wait a minute, they're just sitting here. Like, do you give them something to make them do this? I think he understood how to disarm her.
Yeah.
And he used that to his advantage.
He definitely did. One thing we didn't talk about in the first episode is how he played off the police officers. The police officers were like, "What happened, sir?" And he's like, "Man, this dude came up into my house, tried to rob me. He had a gun." And the police officer was like, "Wait, he had a silencer?"
See,
And
but again, that's also what we need to talk about, his slippage.
yep,
Because John Lithgow pointed out, we wouldn't be in this situation if you didn't get rid of that person and you left a silencer on his chest.
yep,
Like, he's good, but he's older. And he's either not remembering what to do or he just didn't think it was the thing to do. Which
yeah.
they're right. If he came in there just to attack you, he wouldn't have a silencer.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And even the police officer when the police officer pointed out, you know they're gonna bring it up the chain, and of course that's how it all went curtains down. But yeah, this girl, she really likes him, and she asked him out on a date. He talks to his daughter about. His daughter was like, "Look, don't do that, Jane." He's like, "Man, I got to keep my cover, man." So they go on a date, and he gets a good gauge of who she is, about her previous marriage, what she feels about herself. She kind of goes over the fact that, I became a different person, and I feel responsible for how my husband went down the track that he went down. Irregardless, like he's like, "No, it's not your fault. You're a good person." He's like, "You sure about that?" I don't see it like that. But this is the thing about this. When they leave and go down the street, they're going back home, there's a roadblock. He's smart enough to know what's going on. He puts his glasses on, and she's looking at him like, "Okay." And he's like, "It's gonna be okay."
What's going on here?
He's like, "It's gonna be okay. Don't worry about it."
Well,
So
no,
they
remember though, she said it first. Because her worry was, I had a couple of glasses. Do you think I should drive?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, she
That's
said
right.
it first.
That's right. That's right. And so they the police officers come up to him like, "Let me check you out." They kind of question her, and she calls him her husband. She covers for him. Why? We do have absolutely no idea, but they proceed to tell her to get out of the car, tell him to get out of the car. And this is one of the most shocking things in this episode that threw me completely off. At a certain point, he had a knife on him, stabs it into the police officer, takes the gun, shoots him in the head, shoots the other police officer he just stabbed, and she comes up to him like, "What's going on? What did you just do? What have you done?" And he's like, "Look, we gotta go." Like, "No, what have you done? I see you." Something like that. She said, "I see you."
Yeah. This was all part of the dream sequence, we're going to call it,
right?
That he was going through. Well, not even a dream. I'm going to say when he was working out
he was
exactly how to respond. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was like, "How do I respond to this?"
Right.
And it was simple. Killed everybody.
Dude, killed everybody. Bro, when he shot her in the head and her body hit the ground, I was kind of like, I thought I knew this man, but I really don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was praying. I was like, "Please, God, let that be a dream. Like, please let me."
It was a good. It was a good setup to again be reminded how the character thinks, because this is a happy episode, really.
Right.
For everything else happened around them. But here you need to understand how he thought and certain ramifications that it brings with him, because this is the way he thinks.
Dude, the fact that he thought about killing her, I really don't know this man. I don't know. I really don't know what he's capable of.
But no, I think at that point you understand what he did for the government. What he did for the private sector. We understand that portion of it. It just could possibly lead to saying, "Hey, like, he's still an old man. Still a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs." But there he just really thought about his options and he weighed them. Like, is this a smart move to make? And that's what you get from him in episode 2. Because episode 2 is way more about explaining exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
We fully understand why they're hunting Jeff Bridges by this point, while we also understand how the structure is going to work moving forward. Right. I love the point that the father had to bring it back and say, "Hey, only all you're gonna get here is the basic setup of everything. It leaves Jeff Bridges from that point and his character from that point to fill in the little pieces that we need filled in. And Austin Sawell, I think I'm saying his name right. That's the actor who plays the young Jeff Bridges.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the beginning of the episode, we get to see the mission that young Jeff. I'm gonna stop. What is the character's name? I keep on calling him young Jeff Bridges.
Dan Chase. Dan.
Okay, that's his fake name.
Yeah.
They have not introduced his real name.
I think.
So.
Well, yeah, no. Well, I'm
yeah. So we get young Dan and the other young character for John Lithgow. Just like we get a hint on what they did without giving us any true definition of what they did overseas. But here, when you get to this fight, when you get to the way he thought when he killed Amy and he killed the cops and he killed everybody, it's because he's thinking for survival.
Yeah.
Remember, he said, I don't want to shoot you. And she's like, I can't see you a different way. What you don't do is tell a psychopath with a gun who's waiting for you to say, I forgive you, don't worry about it, that you can't see him that way.
Right.
It's going to shoot you in the head.
Straight in the head, bro. The other thing that's happening with him, and a little bit happened in the first episode, we started to see a little bit of what happened to his wife, Abby, how she started getting dementia, something happened in the bathroom. Yeah. And they proceed to show the whole entire thing. But in this, after he sleeps with old girl, like she comes up again and she was like, wait until she knows what everything is. I think I want to tell her. And it's like he keeps waking up to his wife because he can't let it go. He can't let go of the past, and he can't let go of the guilt behind the past as well, because we don't really fully understand. It's not just dementia that he's trying to deal with his wife. It's more than that.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually really dope how they set all that up. But hey, so when John goes to an old friend and talks about his transgressions, talks about the fact that this guy's back, and
I think this is somebody that they both were close to. It seemed like.
Yeah, this guy. As weird, as dangerous as Dan and Harold are, this guy seemed like he's the mastermind that could have everybody. So he's almost like the dad of them, because he was like, man, why are you so sloppy? Why didn't you come to me? Like he's the Godfather or something.
It was the way he worded it. Like I'd gave you a better angle to attack him with than the one you chose.
So he kind of is like, look, you got your options, or you got this phone number right here. And Harold was like, look, I can't even think about picking up that phone number because this will be the end of my career. And he was like, look, what other options you got? And then he just proceeds to like monologue and play and paint. And I was just like,
hey, I don't know, right back to normal living.
Right. I don't know who that man is, but he is dangerous. He is dangerous.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I love that scene. They acted off each other really well, and the actor that was playing that character, I don't know who the actor was, but he killed it. He destroyed that.
It was a scary portrait of someone who you clearly know is in power, and you're not knowing how to react to it,
right?
Because we don't know yet how much power he has.
Exactly. I think that's it. But you come to find out later on that your boy Harold, who is John Lithgow's character, he calls a number, and we don't know who it is, but basically it's a professional. And this professional was like, look, I'll take care of it. And I think Harold kind of asked him, he was like, look, I need to know something. Are you good at it? He's like, what you mean? Like, are you good at your job? Can you do this? Because this is not going to be something easy. You're not going to be able to just easily take this out. And he was like, no, I got it. It's okay. But yeah, I think that's how the episode closed out.
Yes, it closed out because he was talking to him in a car.
Yeah.
That's how the official episode closes out, as he's attempting to get more reinforcements, basically. And you just got to wonder what happens now. What happens next? This is another big character introduced to it. I am not going to even attempt to pronounce the actor's name for it, even though I know who he is. I'm not going to pretend to announce his name. If Sam finds it, Sam going to pronounce his name. I'm just going to say he played on The Wire too, and he's going to be in here. So that is the person that he contacted.
I know what you're talking about. I'm not gonna say his name. I'm not gonna say his name because I can't. There's no way I could even try to pronounce it.
Let me like.
I mean, Binga. Is that?
Well, let's just say this. We get an introduction to his character by the end of the episode with John Lithgow in a car as he's talking about killing PJ.
Yeah.
But nothing ever really happens. And I think we just stuck back into her protecting herself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the I don't want to call her maid. Is it a maid? Oh, a housekeeper. That's what I'm calling a housekeeper.
Anywho, but yeah, I'm excited for this series. Off of the first 2 episodes alone, it's won me over. I care about the characters because the character progression is so interesting. And it's one of the first series I've seen in a long time. Like, even the actors that are playing the younger versions of them actually look like the actual actors very well. Like, I was like, I don't know who this man is, but he looked like a young Jeff Bridges.
God, they didn't do the face. Is it face tuning?
Oh yeah, nah. He was like, no longer are we gonna do Tron. So he's like, nah, don't do that to me again. But yeah, I liked it. I really liked the first 2 episodes, and I'm excited for the series. It doesn't seem like I don't think it's a mini series. I think it's a whole season. So
yeah, it's still a limited series though.
Is it gonna be 8 episodes or 6 like under the banner?
I think right now it's calling for 6.
Okay. Yeah. Nah, I'm all the way sold at this point.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see where it goes. The only thing we don't really know, or that we heard, I think in this episode, it was alluded about his. Never mind. We'll talk about next episode.
It is not a spoiler. We are not doing spoiler free. It's Samuel, but it's the thing is he finds out, or John Lithgow character finds out that Jeff Bridges' character daughter's actually dead.
Yeah.
So if she's dead, who is this person you've been protecting and why?
Right. Yep. On that note,
because I can't.
On that note, we're gonna go.
hold on, because it's something from the book that happens that plays a highly important part here, and I'm trying my best to think about it, and it's slipping my mind. And I had it. You ever have something and you're like, okay, I need to mention this because it's highly important to the progression of what we're going to get. The case that's hinted towards at the beginning of the episode, because we understand where they're at. We understand it is in the Middle East, and we understand that John Lithgow had Jeff Bridges' character do something he had no business having him do. In the book, it's kind of a robbery that takes place there. So I think that is going to be some form of thread that they're going to paint through the rest of these episodes, because that's one of the few things that would take down John Lithgow's character if they found out you did anything like that overseas. I think that's the best way to put it.
Tune into episode 3. That's all I'm going to say. We'll be back, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button, and hopefully you enjoyed this. Peace, people.
Falling off the top